Breaking news, the San Francisco 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk seem to be at a distance, a pretty far distance in regards to contract negotiations so far that Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all the information that has come out in about the last half an hour or so. We are going to recap all of it. We are going to give our initial reactions to this situation, what it means for the 49ers, what it means for Brandon Aiyuk, and how do we move forward with this situation. So we're going to talk about everything right now. So you guys already know what I'm going to need you to do. I'm going to need you to drop that SDS in the chat, smash that like button, and let's talk about all these things that are going on with Brandon Aiyuk and react to it right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Oh, we got some stuff to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into any of that, I gotta say what's good to the SDS. Shout out to the Sourdough Squad. We got Bread Gang in the building, tapping in. And man, I don't know, I think at this current state, I'm just so ready for training camp that everything's got me at full tilt. My blood is pumping right now. I'm ready to go. So let's talk about this whole situation right now that is currently going on with Brandon Aiyuk. We'll start from the beginning. We'll present the information, and then we will react to it and what we think about this situation. But again, shout out the SDS. Good to have y'all back in the building. Let's get into it all right now. Regarding this guy, Brandon Aiyuk, man, for a guy who we know that was relatively kind of under the radar in the sense of wasn't really a household name heading into this year. Obviously, within the 49ers fan base, everyone knows who Brandon Aiyuk was. He was a fan favorite heading into this year. He comes out, has an all-pro season last year with the 49ers off 75 catches, over 1,300 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. Phenomenal season for Brandon Aiyuk last year. But since the Super Bowl has ended, it has been ongoing. Brandon Aiyuk front and center, and he has become a household name just due to the simple fact that many are talking about his ongoing contract negotiation with the 49ers and how it's kind of played out very publicly from the beginning. So as it stands right now, and I'm sure you guys are already aware of this because you're in the stream, and make sure you smash that like button on this stream as we get into it. And I want to hear your guys' feedback as we continue to move through this. But Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. And again, I think where we start with this is let's start with kind of just the initial reaction of Brandon Aiyuk requesting a trade very close to training camp. I kind of want to see your guys' reaction. Are you surprised that Brandon Aiyuk has requested a trade about a week out from training camp? I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Are you surprised? Are you not surprised? Could you smell this coming? Do you feel like this is on point for how the negotiations have gone thus far? And kind of understanding, as we've talked about on this channel, training camp being effectively a soft deadline for the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk to get this done. Drop it in the chat. I want to see your guys' reactions to this situation. I've seen a lot of this so far, Debo 2.0. And again, one of the reasons why this has been coming up is because Debo Samuel did the exact same thing back in the off season heading into the 2022 year, I believe. It was after Debo Samuel put up an all pro season. And as a result of that, wanted a new contract. We saw Debo Samuel request a trade publicly. And ultimately, what happened was Debo Samuel got paid about a week or two into training camp. So I see a lot of people referencing the Debo Samuel situation. Again, here's another one from Jonathan saying Debo all over again, part of the game now. Justin says, kind of surprised, thought they'd get it done. You got Mr. Laid Back saying, not surprised, just like Debo. So I think a lot of people are seeing how this situation is all playing out, and they're like, hey, we've seen this before. So I think a lot of this kind of negotiation publicly has been a lot of that for 49er fans. It's been a lot of, oh, well, we've seen this before. We've seen this play out publicly. We've seen it play out before. And so as we continue to move through this, this is a ongoing situation here, and we will continue to see how it plays out. But let's take a look at some of the other information that continues to come out. And there's more stuff coming out right now as I'm on live, so we'll cover that as well. My guy Jason Dumas of Cron 4, he reached out to a source with ties to Brandon Aiyuk, and he says can confirm Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade. Jason asked, basically, is there a specific team that Brandon wants to play for, and was told, quote, Brandon wants to go where he is appreciated and fairly compensated. And I do feel that is aligned with what BA has been saying for the entire offseason. We've seen him on a couple podcast appearances and things of that nature, and those are kind of along the lines of what he was saying. And then as we were getting ready for the stream, we had another bit of information come out from Adam Schefter, basically saying that multiple teams have reached out to Brandon Aiyuk, or reached out to the 49ers, very, very interested in trading for the wide receiver. And essentially what is being kicked back is that the 49ers are saying they don't have any interest in trading for Brandon Aiyuk. So we'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens, because I feel like we had kind of an understanding that the 49ers were open to taking calls on Brandon Aiyuk heading into the draft. It sounded like there were some conversations. We soon found out that not only were the 49ers taking calls on BA, they were taking calls on Debo. So it kind of like opened up this situation regarding obviously this big time player looking for a big time contract and kind of the complicated nature of it. And then they draft Ricky Pearsall, they draft Jacob Cowing. You have Brandon Aiyuk texting John Lynch during the press conference saying that they love the Ricky Pearsall pick, and it seemed like things were headed in the right direction. You even heard reports coming out from Brandon Aiyuk's camp that at one point they felt that this deal was very close to getting done. But as a result of the exploding wide receiver market, that changed some of the things regarding what BA was likely requesting. Sounded like the price. It sounded like the situation of yesterday's price is not today's price with Brandon Aiyuk. And so the 49ers and BA find themselves in a situation where the wide receiver market has exploded. BA is a second team all pro player who proved by every stretch of the imagination that he is a quality player and an efficient one at that with how he produced last year. But it doesn't appear that the 49ers are showing interest in actually signing him. I heard a rumor that the Washington Commanders, and again, this was told to me from a source close to the situation, told me that the Washington Commanders, I don't know whether informal or formal, have definitely showed interest in trading for Brandon Aiyuk. And now, obviously, we understand that part of this off season situation has been involving not only the Commanders, but the Commanders' number 2 overall draft pick in Jaden Daniels. I think on one of the podcast appearances that BA was on, Jaden Daniels was there with him throughout that whole situation. So it sounds like there are teams, and we've heard the Pittsburgh Steelers have shown interest. And even just now, we're hearing that Josina Anderson is reporting that the Patriots have also inquired about Brandon Aiyuk a couple weeks ago, and they were effectively told that Brandon Aiyuk isn't for sale. So I think we have some. Get your popcorn ready, guys. We got some interesting situations playing out. I think we're about a week away from training camp, and the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk seem to still be apart on negotiations. Tulio says, I really, really don't want Aiyuk to go. Hope this is just negotiating tactics. Well, to be honest, I do think that is a part of it. I do think it's a part of it. I think that obviously Brandon Aiyuk has alluded to that part of some of the things that he has done on social media has essentially been kind of to gain some form of leverage in this situation where he is under contract. So you could imagine that this is probably a situation to put some strain on the front office, put some pressure on the front office. Obviously, this is the biggest story in the entire NFL right now. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's commenting on it. Now you got every other fan base trying to come after and, propose their hypothetical trade scenarios to the 49ers. So we'll see how it ultimately plays out. But I would have to imagine this is a big part of the negotiation process and trying to leverage what they have available to them. And so my hope is, and my hope has been this entire time, is that the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk come together on an agreement before training camp. Now that seems to be in doubt definitely right now. So we'll have to see, man. This is a bit of a twist that I wasn't necessarily expecting. I see that a lot of people in the chat aren't necessarily surprised by this. I'm not totally surprised or taken back by this. I just was hoping for a different outcome. You know what I mean? I was hoping that we didn't have to get to this point. I was hoping that the 49ers could, and Brandon Aiyuk and his representation could come to an agreement, and that we could go into training camp singing Kumbaya. Let's go get another ring that we have been hunting for some time now. So that remains to be seen. Obviously, we're in a situation where we got to figure out what's going to go down. So let me ask you guys here in the chat. Let me ask you guys, I want to get you guys involved. Let's say the number is around Amon-Ra St. Brown's, 30 million per year on average. Obviously, the most important thing is the guaranteed money. I would assume that Brandon Aiyuk is sitting in the range of wanting probably 70 plus million in guaranteed money. So what do you think the outcome is? Do the 49ers pay Brandon Aiyuk, or are the 49ers going to make Brandon Aiyuk play this year on the 5th-year option, which would be a substantial, it's literally less than half of this. So 14.1 is what Brandon Aiyuk would play on if they do not come to an agreement and they effectively say, we're not paying you, but you're under contract, so you either show up or you get fined, is effectively my understanding of the rules that have been collectively bargained from the NFLPA and the owners and all those things. Is that unfortunately for BA on the 5th-year option, it doesn't sound like there's much leverage in that regard of threatening a holdout. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell was became very polarizing for holding out for an entire season due to contract disputes. Obviously, that can't happen anymore due to the collectively bargained agreements that are in place. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's another wrinkle in another ongoing situation of this off season, and man, it's. I was just chilling today. Like NCAA college football came out yesterday. I'm like, I'm gonna call in sick to work today, and I'm just gonna play NCAA, kind of vibe out, kind of ease back into training camp. We got training camp rookies report today, and in a week from now, the veterans report, and training camp kicks off on the 25th. So my mindset was like, I'm gonna ease back in, and after Mike Garafolo dropped that news that Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade, changed our plans a little bit. So we have been kind of running around figuring out what is going on and trying to discern uh, what the most logical outcome of this situation is going to be. From a fan perspective, Gabriel says these contract negotiations year after year are exhausting. Yeah, as someone who covers the 49ers independently, I would have to agree with you that these ongoing contract negotiations are very exhausting. And they typically have the same pacing and play out late into training camp. Um, so I think this is a situation where two things can be true at once. I think the value that Brandon Aiyuk is asking for isn't totally outlandish. Now, I see a lot of people say that, oh, what Brandon's asking for is too much. It's too expensive. It's just too much. And what I say back to that is Brandon Ayuk isn't dictating the price. It's the market that is dictating the price. So when Jerry Jeudy gets paid $19 million per year, Jerry Jeudy is set to make more money than Brandon Ayuk next season. When you get this laundry list of the Devontae Smith, the Amon-Ra St. Browns, the Nico Collins, the Jaden Waddles, they all get paid. That changes the market. And that dictates the asking price. And from my understanding of how this situation has played out, is that there was a number that they could have signed for that was cheaper, but unfortunately, due to playing the waiting game, it's actually caused a bit of a fracture because it changed the asking price. It changed the dynamic of the market, and Brandon Ayuk has to play that game of getting what market value is. And so whether you determine what that is, whether he determines what that is, doesn't matter. It is what it is. The market is the market. So um, that's just, I think, where we're currently at. But, I felt pretty confident that the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk were going to get this done. Things were going to kind of smooth over a little bit, and they were going to hopefully get a deal done before training camp. But now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little less confident as it stands right now. Obviously, um, making a public trade request is a big time leverage play, and it can go both ways. It really can. The 49ers could this to me are the options. The 49ers could say, all right, well, we tried, we weren't able to come to an agreement. We'll let you play on this 5th-year option, and after that, you either are a free agent to sign elsewhere, or we are going to tag and trade, franchise tag trade at the end of the year. Another option is they don't wait. They trade him this year. They trade him before this season starts. And one of the reasons why that feels less likely is because you don't want 2025 picks in a season that you need to win the Super Bowl. Like I think all 49er fans are of the mindset that it's not like our hope is the 49ers win the Super Bowl. No, we're beyond that. We need to win the Super Bowl, not only as a fan base, but I think inside that building internally, inside that locker room, executive level, all the way down. We need to win the Super Bowl. And this next year is, last year was obviously our best shot at it, but this next season, we have another great shot at that as well. And you want to have your all pro players at your disposal, especially for Brock Purdy to be able to continue to find success, continue to elevate his game. We all know Brandon Aiyuk stretches the field. He does it vertically. He can do it over the middle. He's a phenomenal blocker. He does all those things that you need in this offense. So we shall. Those are the options, really, in my opinion. I don't see any other options that remain. So it's, and well, I guess the last option would be you pay him. You come to agreement, he gets paid, and then you move on from there. So get your popcorn ready, guys. We aren't going into training camp, just chilling, We are very much on Brandon Aiyuk watch. What will happen to Brandon Aiyuk moving forward? I want to ask you guys, what is the percentage chance? What is the percentage chance that Brandon Aiyuk is traded? Does that change for you? Because again, as we've reported and passed along, according to Adam Schefter and Josina Anderson, multiple teams have reached out and they have been turned down for a trade. But does this change things? So what is it? Is he 100% going to get traded? 0% not going to be traded? Or are you thinking like, well, I was at 5%. There's always a possibility, but I don't see that happening. And now with the news of this, are you like, I could see him getting traded now? Maybe that percentage jumped from 5 to 50%. I'm very curious, just kind of in how the fans are thinking about this, how they're quantifying this, and where we are currently at. So if we just do a quick look into the chat, attention span says 50-50 he gets traded. Harris says only a 5% chance he gets traded. Craft Bait says 50%. We got 90%. He gone. Oh boy. 70%. He gets traded. 30%. We're getting a little bit back down with only 10%. 1%. I respect it. That means he doesn't believe it's going to happen, but we all know anything can happen in the NFL. So got to keep your options open. 70%, 90%, zero chance it happens this season. So you can see there's a lot of conflicting opinions of kind of where people feel it is currently at with Brandon Ayuk. But man, crazy. Trade 5%, re-sign 15, going to next season 80%. Oh, we got a 0.1%. Justin says 60% Debo was paid by this point in the season, wasn't he? I believe Debo Samuel got paid at the end of July. So we were into training camp. Training camp had already begun. I remember being at training camp. I remember the first day Debo Samuel was back as a signed player. He didn't practice. He just kind of walked around and kind of hung out with Kyle and that kind of stuff. But it was definitely into training camp when Debo Samuel got paid. So you can see a lot of difference of opinion in the chat, which honestly it seems I'm not surprised by that perspective, because I think we just don't know. We don't know what is going to happen. And again, the 49ers ultimately hold the cards in this situation. So the 49ers can decide to do whatever they want. They can sit tight, they can let it play out. They can say you either play or you don't and go from there. But man, from my perspective of wanting to win and wanting to put your best foot forward this season, I would love to see these guys come to an agreement. I really would. I really would. I really would like to see this get figured out. Um, I really would. Come on Friday says you're GM. What are you doing? For me, if I'm the GM, I hate to say this because it's a bit of a hindsight, but I would have paid him much sooner. I would not have waited. Um, if I was the general manager, I would have approached Brandon Aiyuk about a in-season contract negotiation. I have a fundamentally different belief system than how the 49ers tend to operate these negotiations. And again, I am not a cap expert. I don't pretend to understand everything that goes into what Parag Marathe does in the sense of the timing of these negotiations. I don't know. But if me, Brad, what would you do if you're the general manager? We would have been talking last season. When we see BA trending up last season, I would either got it done in season or directly after the season. Um, because I'm also of the mindset that you can absolutely get ahead of the market, right? That's part of the logic is that you can get ahead. Like you could see that you had Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You could see the main guys. It was the other guys that also disrupted the market. My plan, if I was handling this, would have been to get this done as soon as possible in the hopes of actually saving some money um, before the market exploded. And from the sounds of it, it sounds like BA would have been open to that. He would have got it done for probably a little bit less than what the market is dictated to right now. And so now, unfortunately, the bet has been made, and we kind of just have to lay in it and see how this thing ultimately comes about. But now I want to pose another question to the chat. Let me get it on a banner so it's just I don't have to keep repeating myself. All right. So this is my question to you in the chat, because I see a lot of people who are kind of potentially pro trade BA. What would you trade BA for? What would it take for you to feel confident in trading Brandon Ayuk? Uh, what would you take? What would that mean? What would it take for you to be like, okay, we're not going to have Brandon Ayuk, but we got something else. We got something else that can help us. We got a player, we got picks. I'm just curious. I'm just curious for those who want to trade BA, who believe BA should be on the, maybe should be traded. What do you think that would take? Um, I'm seeing A tier starting right tackle for someone to feel good about that. It's Marvin Harrison. Um, has to be someone who can help us now. Elite O line or defensive back. Harris says a star around the age range of BA. I think that is a definitely important measure. Is I don't want an old guy. I want a dude in his prime. If we're even gonna think about trading Brandon Ayuk. Scary Terry has been thrown around, but the Commanders ain't trading him. Johnny Newton on a 4-year contract and a second round draft pick. Hey, man, the 49ers could have drafted Newton. They said no thanks. Christian Gonzalez from the Patriots, a second and Wilkins. Wilkins got paid, though. You would be taking on a huge contract. I think it would force the Raiders to probably take a lot of dead money on, too. Trade BA to the Raiders and a second for Devontae and a fourth. First, second, fourth. Let's see what else. At least a first and a fourth. This close to camp and season. S tier player. Let's see. Adams and a second. Burns, Pickens, and a second. Are you saying Brian Burns? Oh, don't mention that name around here. Don't you mention that name around here. Oh, Penei Sewell or Tristan Wirfs. Oh boy. Oh boy. I could tell you right now the fan base probably would not be terribly opposed if they were able to get one of those star right tackles, just based on all the feedback we've gotten from you guys over this time. So, um, yeah, it would be fascinating to see if that were to happen. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen. Again, hypothetical question that we're posing because of the official trade request to kind of get your ideas of what we think it would be or what it would take or what you would be happy with. But whoo boy, training camp's right around the corner. I can't wait to see what happens moving forward. I feel like at a certain point, you know, we're just along for the ride. Whatever happens, happens. We're reacting to it. We're seeing how it all plays out. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But it does feel like something's got to give at one point. Someone's got to break. And I hate that it has to be that. I hate that someone has to cave apparently. But man, I know from a fan perspective that fans don't want to deal with this, and they would like to focus on play on the field, not negotiations in the off season. But it has become a staple of the 49ers off season for the last like 4 years now, 5 years it feels like, dating back to when Defo got traded. Uh, yeah, it's Defo got traded. Um, but we did pay Jimmy Garoppolo without any question. We paid Jimmy Garoppolo a whole lot of money after 5 games, really early into the process. I don't know. Maybe that was it. Maybe maybe the Jimmy Garoppolo contract is what shifted the process for the 49ers because man, that guy, and like, this isn't meant to be like a shot at Jimmy at all. It's just more in the sense of he got paid as the highest paid quarterback in the league after 5 games with the 49ers right after the season ended. And uh, since then, we have yet to see a contract really play out like that. Now, obviously, Christian McCaffrey got paid uh, during OTAs. That was a good thing. I would say Jawan Jennings got paid during OTAs. That was a good thing. So that's a little bit of a deviation from some of the trends that we've seen in the past. So that's a positive. Um, but for whatever reason, this one is taking longer. Uh, sorry, I apologize. It just popped into my head. I'm going back in time. I'm thinking about all the contracts that have been inked under the John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan regime. He was like the first one. So I was just going back. I was just going back in time. That was it. Um, Jimmy's taken enough flack since the receiver show has coming out. Not trying to add on to it. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, the situation um, is far from over. It's far from over. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. Like I said, I was confident that we were going to get something done before or around training camp. I don't know if this necessarily is an indication that that changes or if it's exactly what it's intended to do, which is put pressure on the front office publicly to get a deal done because clearly this whole thing has been played out publicly and we'll see what continues to happen, but I can guarantee you we are going to have more things to talk about, more things to cover. This situation isn't over. I've been saying that for about a month or so, is that this isn't over. We're going to continue to see this played out in the media. This is yet again, and it's about every week so far that we've seen something pop in the media. So, hey, we have, it's Tuesday. We'll have a couple more days of this week. I guarantee either Sunday, Monday, before training camp, we'll hear something. Some other news will pop. Some other situation about this will pop. So we're not done with this. We're not over. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I wish I could provide some or instill some confidence in the situation one way or the other. But as it stands right now, I really, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I, I don't. So until then, I'm fully in wait and see mode. That's where I'm at. So we're gonna have to do exactly that. And I mean, you might feel confidently one way or the other. I personally don't. So um, we shall see. But appreciate everyone tapping in. Again, we'll continue to cover this situation As soon as any information drops, you already know I'll make the videos. I'll be posting them to the channel. Any substantial things happen, I'll go live. So you guys already know what to do. And plus, honestly, we'll do probably a more training camp focused live a little bit later. But training camp is almost here. Don't forget. Hey, shout out Queso. Queso is a legend. If you know, you know. Shout out Queso. He's a legend. If you know, you know. And so, like I said, we'll of course keep one eye on this BA situation, but let's not forget training camp is right around the corner. Rookies are reporting today, and we got some stuff. We're gonna have some other stuff to talk about that isn't just Brandon Aiyuk focused. We'll cover other things and all that good stuff. So make sure you got those post notifications on. Make sure you're subbed to the channel. Smash that like button on this video, and we'll be back for more 49ers related content. Appreciate everyone for tapping in. I'm out. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.